challenges mining system based on parsing. I had some computational linguist with 30 years of professional experience in natural language processing, but he has a track record of making NLP work robust. He has built 3 large-scale NLP systems, all transformed into real-life, globally distributed products. So he's going to talk about big data mining from social level. We heard a lot from social level today. So I think this is going to be a very interesting topic. We all use social level. So let's welcome Dr. Lee.
Yeah, thank you for a nice introduction, Xiaoming. It's a great honor to be here and to share the work of the last 5 years we have done in my company, which actually is a Silicon Valley startup. It's a late-stage startup. We are almost 10 years old now, but still haven't made it to anything like IPO or something. But anyway, the work is very interesting, fascinating, and whatever other people say about big data buzz or bubble or things like that, but to me it's real, it's tangible, it's something which we really feel the power every day. I will first talk a little bit about background and concept, big data and the language technology, natural language, and then go to some discussion of the architecture and approaches to this type of social media mining. And lastly, I'll give you some use cases to illustrate how things are really helpful in the real world. What is big data? Everybody's talking about. There's 3 V's, 4 V's, and a lot of different perspectives of looking at this. And suddenly it got so hot. We all know big data is big, that's the size part, but not just size. To me, actually, big data, the concept itself is that the data actually with some type of background with it. Otherwise, the big data is not really a new thing, right? I mean, in the Google age, before the big data became a buzzword, we already have so much data out there, right? If you search for some hot topic in any keyword search engine, Yahoo, Google, you get millions and millions of documents. Is that big data? No, because by the time you get the data, you don't really know what is the background about, where it's coming from. It's only known right to Google by itself. It's not provided to you, so you can't really make too much sense out of that data. But now the situation is different, especially with the social media. The big data actually benefits natural language processing. Right? We all know natural language, like human language, like English, Chinese, and all those other languages we're now handling. It's just a monster. It's so complicated that any type of technology, whether using machine learning or using the traditional grammar engineering approach, is only something which is imperfect by nature. You never can make it really good to really make sense of natural language to some state of satisfying your criteria. But now the situation is different. The size really matters because with big data, if you can get the engineering work in the big data environment, and then it really actually compensates for the imperfections of the technology, both in terms of some very important criteria like precision and recall. Precision, of course, what happens is the recall. First, everybody knows when the data size becomes big, right? You don't really have that recall issue because you can just increase the data input, and then whatever you get, because by nature the big data has a redundancy out there. If you only capture a small fraction of it, and then you will end up getting the information you want to get. Even for precision, actually big data helps because with some statistics approach, you will be able to surface the data which is highly precise on the top, because that's the nature of the big data. Okay, it's a big topic, but my area is really narrow. I have been doing this type of work for the last 30 years, since I got my master's degree in 1986. I have never changed my career. It's always language processing. So I'm not going to talk about any engineering infrastructure like you guys talk about, because I really don't know too much. I'm exposed to it only through my co-workers' work, but I'm not the expert. Not about any structured data or transaction records. Not about all types of data, signals, videos, pictures, not even the language part, which is speech. I'm only talk about social media text data. That's where my expertise is. I have been doing this for so many years until now. I found, it's my happy time. Yeah, I haven't even reached out, and then I got these invited talks. Actually, not once. There's another one which I'm going to talk in Boston in a few days. They have also medicine big data conference. They want to say, I have nothing to do with medicine. No, they say, well, you just share your knowledge, and we can see whether we can get insights from how you handle social media, and then we can get some inspiration for the medicine domain. Anyway, here's the data. This is how my company is now processing, right? Basically, the social media for 27 months history, that archive. And also, we're supporting a growing number of social networks and languages. Currently, actually, we have 40 languages in our shallow level processing, with 9 key languages in deep natural language processing. By deep, I go a little bit into more details. And then we go this distributed processing, which I do not know too much about. The experts are here. But we have 70 servers handling 5 billion documents combined. And then what do? We serve the businesses in order to get to the what's called social listening. Basically, it's trying to get the customer insights about a brand, a product, or some campaigns to see how the public opinions demonstrate your image. Actually, if you compare that with the traditional way, what do we do when we want to gather the information about the public opinions? You do surveys, right? You distribute thousands of surveys, and you stand somewhere as a mall, try to get some target, and then you collect them, and then you get a survey, and then you present. The record is horrible, right? If you survey for presidential election, for example, you survey 5,000 forms, and you collect them, and then you calculate the ratio. 30% of people will vote for Obama, things like that. Compared with hundreds and millions population there, it's a horrible record. But traditionally, there's no other way of getting information other than this type of things. Now it's different. We have social media. People keep talking in social media all the time. Almost any topic you can find it from social media. But social media. Yeah.
We sent one you're gonna wait.
Well, I'll tell you. Actually, I did some study there. We'll see how we measure the public opinions of the government policies and presidential campaigns. In fact, actually, Obama's last election, they actually used our system in order to help. But social media is a monster. It's a real monster. Even you say natural language is complex, it's so difficult to pass. You go to social media, it's ungrammatical input. A lot of people write broken sentences with all this type of jargon, right? So that's what we do every day. But it's interesting. It's fun. You see, even for some. This is just an illustration to show you how much insights you can really gather, mine from social media about this is the case about social listening. Basically, it's a manual survey made automated. So we want to capture the sentiment analysis of the customers, of the general consumers about a particular brand or some topic. So you can get this type of information. This not only the natural language part can get the information from each post. You can also get some metadata about all these type of things: hashtag, people, topics, gender, And all this type of information come in once we gather them, right? There are key information like behaviors, emotions, and likes and dislikes, the reasons why you hate something or you love something, which we gather, which using natural language processing technology. And then you gather those gender and demographic information, all these other things as a background. You can do a lot of things with it. You can cut and slice in different ways, look at the same insight from different perspectives, and then it's just making things much easier to serve the businesses who really want to understand their clients, to see how they can better message their information out, or how they want to address the issues from products. So that's about social media and how language technology might play a role. Traditionally, the natural language processing part, there are two basic approaches. One is for machine learning, everybody is familiar with, or at least it rings the bell. The other one actually is less mentioned now because it's not mainstream. So you don't hear about it too much, but actually it's something which is really powerful. It's even getting more powerful with big data once you put it into good use. But in my field, this natural language processing is dominated by machine learning people. It's all these statisticians dominating the field, so that this one actually fades out. No one can publish here, right? If you write a paper about using grammar engineering to do something, well, you might get the thing worked out, but you just can't publish. No one will accept it. So it's dominated by this. Machine learning, indeed, is very powerful. However, there are pros and cons as I listed here. To me, it's more of complementing to each other rather than competing with each other. But there are two different schools. You come from statistical background. You have your hammers there, right? You look at everything as a needle. So you just look. So there's some type of political struggle between the two schools, so that one sometimes do not see the other side of the story. But to my mind, I'm a linguist. I come in more from this background. But I worked many years with DoD projects, 17 Army, not Army, Navy and Army projects under the name of machine learning. Although I'm myself is not a machine learning guy. So I got an assistant who is a machine learning expert. So I can gather the money to support this type of work to join the team. So I know a little bit about machine learning at a high level, not at the level of algorithms or things like that, but the high level. So what I can see is complementary rather than competing with that. So, okay, machine learning is good. It's good for classification. It's good to see the forest, but it's not good for seeing the single trees. And then you can see the big picture, but you don't really see the details. So if you want to go for this particular area called sentiment analysis, if you want to go beyond sums up or sums down classification, then typically grammar engineering is much better than machine learning. Because grammar engineering, you can go into detail to find all these different aspects of sentiments, rather than just say up and down or neutral. And then if you combine the two, and then you get best out of both worlds. So currently in my system, because I'm a linguist, I design a system. So grammar engineering is my core system. And then we use statistics and machine learning and some heuristics and procedures or some other ad hoc things as a backup. Because in the previous slide, I didn't go into details because the audience is different. One thing should be emphasized is that machine learning is good at relatively good at recall to the coverage. However, grammar engineering approach, you have to write each pattern, each linguistic phenomenon captured by a particular subset of rules, so that you don't really get the good recall. You can make things very precise. Once you capture it, it's always right, or it's almost always right, 90%, near human performance, that type of precision. However, you might lose other things. Of course, if you keep working on grammar engineering, you put an infinite number of resources into it, of course, in theory, you will get a recall. But you never really get it. You are always limited by resources. So what happens is, I want to do the core engine with the grammar engineering to find the key things, which we call high precision results. However, cases, high precision results are not good enough, then I have machine learning to back up, so get the recall we want. So you have a good balance between the precision and recall, which are two basic criteria for any system. And then this leads to the natural conclusion. If you have a backup system, and then you get the best of the both worlds. If I get deep sentiments through my deep parsing, then I get high precision insights delivered to our clients. Actually, one of our strengths in comparison with our competition is almost all our clients who have tried other technologies and tools, when they first go into our system, they say, wow, your results are just amazing because we have high precision results. Most other teams only do machine learning. They use a bag of words model without structures. And then they can get to the things very quickly up and running. However, they never can get the recall, get the precision, which is good enough. Roughly, for sentiment world, the sums down this type of thing, you get the precision something like from the machine learning world, something like 50 to 60%. Rarely can go beyond it, except for the cases like review data. Review data is a different story. Amazon review or some other review, you have the texting, which is much like a paragraph or document, is much longer. And also in the review data, there is a pre-assumption that every review is talking about something good or something bad, so the data is much cleaner. So either you get it positive or negative, so the precision is much higher for that data. But in the monster sea of the data from social media, which is actually currently is more dominated by Twitter, which is a very short message, 10 words, 8 words, that type of message, the precision from machine learning is really low, 50 to 60%. Because machine learning, bag of words cannot do much if you don't even have data points. You have 10 words, how can I make a prediction that this is a positive or negative? Just by bag of words type of model. Anyway, but we know that our recall is not good, so we have some other ways to go down. Actually, we have 3 layers of protection. Not only protected by machine learning for the better recall, we actually can claim ourselves 100% recall by injecting the machine learning, not machine learning, the search engine keyword index into our system. So in certain cases, depending on use cases, in certain use cases like if you want to do real-time monitoring, right? You want the data to be really real-time monitor, minute by minute, second by second. In that type of situations, you don't want to lose anything. If you already know there's a crisis happening, and then any data which is related to your topic, your brand, you don't want to miss it. In that case, this one helps because I can guarantee you any data which mentions your topic will not be ignored. As long as you have time, I give you data, you can do it yourself to look at that, to see whether there's something going on. So this is just some example to show how complicated natural language can be, right? Using a backup word model, machine learning, then you can't really make sense of this because the words are almost the same. If you don't know the structure, you don't understand grammar, and how do you know these 3 actually are different in semantics, right? Actually, in the real backup word, there's some concept called stop words. Like this is stop word because it's a function word. It doesn't mean too much, and it's mentioned so many times. It's from backup word model, it doesn't contribute anything. So you move them out. When you move them out, they are the same. So it's called keyword challenge. Backup word cannot handle this problem, but parsing can. And second one is association challenge. In the machine learning world, if you use backup words, you can quickly do a system which can do the sentiment analysis for up and down classification at something like a 60% precision level. However, they don't know how to associate the sentiment with a topic or with a brand. All we know, well, what they do, they use proximity. This actually is useful in Amazon cases because in Amazon cases, every review is talking about a particular brand somewhere, right? Either as a metadata or somewhere. But in ordinary social media, people talk with comparisons like this type of I prefer Mastercard over Visa, and then the traditional approach, the mainstream approach, just won't work. They don't know whether that particular party is associated with Visa or Mastercard, but parsing can. That's what grammar engineering is good at. Because I know the pattern, I can write a prefer as a pattern, and then the prefer has the object has the complement. The object goes to preferred row. The complement goes to alternative row, and then one is positive, one is negative. And there's a further challenge to the back-of-word model using the traditional mainstream machine learning. That is classification challenge. Okay, you can get this post right. Yeah, there are mentions of 3 positive features, and there's 1 negative feature just by majority vote. I know this is a positive term, which is okay. But you cannot get things we are getting now. There's a concept here. Sentiments is actually roughly 2 or 3 categories, right? You're happy about, you love something, that's a positive. You hate something, you complain about it, that's negative. Or you feel nothing about it, that's neutral. You have 3 ways. However, behind these 3 big classes, there are millions of different reasons to support them. You like it for what? You hate it, why do you hate it? And what is important in the business, of course, when businesses and the teams first try to get this public opinions from social media, social listening, they are very happy to see, wow, now I get a picture. My new iPhone just launched yesterday. I now know that 90% of the social listening feedback is that they like it, and 10% have some complaints. It's good, right? I know I have a very successful product launch. So what? The next question is, so what? You don't know what to do about it, right? So what happens in the businesses, they want actionable insights. The overall picture is good, it's useful. It reinforces their position, whether my campaign is going well, or in a general theme. However, if you want to take actions to address the issues, to correct your campaigns, to adjust your strategies, you need actionable insight. What is actionable insight? It's the reasons behind those sentiments. But these reasons behind sentiments are so difficult. It's a classification challenge because it's not two-way, not single-way. Even you cut sentiments with some teams do 5 ways of cutting, 7 ways. They say, okay, annoyed is 1, hate is another. You can cut different, but it's only 4 ways, 4 or 5 ways. It's less than a dozen. But if you have thousands of different reasons behind, then it's a challenge to machine learning with back-of-word model. What best simulates the situations? You can use some type of word clustering. But word clustering is another monster. You get things which sometimes make sense, sometimes don't make sense because it's unsupervised. You get things on top, for example, n-gram clustering. You get all the things from social media on top, and some of them can make sense. Yeah, these are reasons people talk about hating something or liking something. But there are other noises also surface on the top. So it's much more difficult to predict how you can gather that. But with grammar engineering, in our design, we can know that this is instant coffee. The reason why there is a green there, green, by the way, is positive in our illustration, visualization. And then because it tastes great, their laptop is red because people don't like it, hate it, doesn't boot. So once this type of information gets into the system and feedback to our clients, by the way, our clients are just like Yum brand, which is Pizza Hut, this type of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and this type of international businesses. They really want to know use social listening to help them to track their brands, and then they can do something with it. They can feedback. Okay, let's talk about a little about the architecture. I'm not going into more details. However, basically, the overall architecture have 3 layers, so that the system designed this way can make it flexible, so we can keep the core system domain independent. If I develop an English system, and then I can understand English in this domain, medicine domain, in news domain, in social media, I don't care about the verticals. Actually, our clients actually range from all different kinds of verticals. So in the very beginning, we have to design a domain-independent system. The benefit of domain-independent system is that once you really do the domain-independent part deep enough, you basically digest the different ways of expressing the idea in a particular language and logicalize them into some logical form. And then basically there's tons of different ways of expressions. Now after this normalization and deep parting, we get it into a more regular normalized logical representation internal in the system. And then on top of it, if I want to do any type of extraction, not only sentiment analysis is one big part. You can do a lot of things with it. Any extraction you want to do on top of it will be made much easier because now you have a logical base. Instead of, if you do from the surface structures, you have to handle different ways, right? You have to write thousands and thousands of rules in order to handle a particular extraction. But now each rule at logical level can correspond to thousands of service level rules. So that benefit makes us easier to address the concerns, the product teams who understand the clients. If they have a new design, they have a new feature, they come back saying that I want this extraction today, tomorrow I have another extraction task. I can do it very quickly because that level is very shallow. The core part is very deep, but I have built it over years. So I can keep it constant and just enhance it over time. This is the core part. That's a hard part. You have to work at least a couple of years before you can even get it in a decent shape. Doing all kinds of processing, shallow, intermediate, and deep processing. That's where my expertise is really there. And then, of course, on top of that, I have already passed the language into logical form. Then I can do extractions. Basically, there are 2 kinds of extractions. One is corresponding to the language we call subjective language, which is opinions or judgments. The other one is called objective language, talking about facts or statements. And then these 2 types of information used to be that in the research community, we start with information extraction about facts, about names, entities, and then relationship between entities, and then we find the events involving the entities. It's all about what has happened, when and where, this type of thing. It turned out the industry actually comes back with the request saying that actually this subjective world is more interesting and it's more important. So, but with the same design, the same type of path, you can support both. To be honest, of course, sentiment world is more difficult to handle because it's more judgmental and it's more subtle. There's less agreement even among the human annotators. So the standards and criteria are higher. And the fact part actually is an easier piece of cake. But anyway, these 2 types of information in the end can join together to support businesses. But of course, currently our focus is on sentiment world. That's the extraction part. Extraction only happens at the level, the middle level, in the offline processing, so that you get all this type of input, archive of 27 months of social media. Actually, for Twitter, we don't really do 100% of Twitter. It's overwhelming. We sample them by 10%, and then we go through our system. And then we put that into a database. After we put the extracted facts, that's only individual facts. There's 1 million likes of a particular brand mentioned in the text. Each one we captured and put it into the text. It's not mining, it's just the extraction. So there's another level which is called mining. Of course, you can design system differently, doing mining also offline. That's another possible strategy. But what we do actually is combine the mining with retrieval at the same stage. When we retrieve the information from the extracted storage, and then we try to do some mining basically there's a way of normalizing, merging, and massaging the data so that the statistical more salient things will surface up from that mining stage. And then you support the products. In all kinds of products, you can support the question answering, you can support the text summarization, you can support this type of business needs for the consumer insights. So any questions so far? Otherwise, I'll go on to some illustrations. Okay, no, let's go on.
Just one question.
Yes.
So do all the big data mining, all the big data mining on social media use that parsing, that language parsing? Does do all the big data research?
No. 90% of the teams, at least, don't do it this way. They do it only use the machine learning. There are a lot of advantages. You can get it very robust. You can have a very fast implementation, and then you can raise the efficiency and things like that. But for the grammar engineering, I'm lucky. I don't know too much about engineering, but my co-workers of engineering department are super. They are so good at really scaling them up and making it workable. But not every grammarian has that help. There are professors who do very deep linguistics. They are in the lab. They can't really scale up. They don't know how to handle big data. But I'm just lucky. Okay, I'll give you some illustration for business. How do they use it? And for consumers, I'll give you some example for government. Just quickly go over. This is what we call POS. It's a real-time monitoring, which is actually getting very popular now. Some big brands all have something called command center. They put it on very big screen there, and it's very fashionable. And they say, you see, my brand is there. I can monitor it every minute to see whether it goes up and down, and how there's all kinds of things going on. It's just a thing. This is a case of crisis management using Chinese social media. And there's one time, this Kentucky got the water contaminated, and it just spread all over the internet, complaining about it, and we can capture it. There's another case of our client in Pizza Hut. Accidentally, they hurt the visually challenged community by a bad choice of commercials. Hachu, they say Hachu is not how, something like that. And then the blind community is so mad, and then it's politically incorrect. There's a lot of things. But they actually captured this incident fairly quickly and got some PR back after they're doing some remedy. This is a case to show how you can go beyond Yelp and Amazon reviews to see a little bit of using big data to see how those brands really position themselves. This is actually a personal story. My wife wants to buy a washer and dryer and saying that I don't care about money, I want the best because she washes every day, almost every day. Then we just put, I can survey different brands, that's one step, and then after got brands, I put that into something called passion index, which is surfaced from the big data analysis. And then we see that actually what is on top is LG and Maytag. Actually, Maytag in this picture is actually a little lower. However, I did another study to see whether front loading and the top loading, which one is more preferred. Of course, front loading is on this side, right? You see, it's not only loved, but it's also passionately loved. So it's the best. So the other, I think the consumer just abandoned the other type mostly. So I said, well, we have to do front loading. Then I refine my search, saying that now I want Maytag front loading versus LG front loading to see which one is better. I get actually I cannot go wrong with either of them. Both are terrific brands. But anyway, Maytag front loading happened to be almost as high. I think it's higher, although the bubble is, you see, the bubble means the buzz, how much positive comment is about it. But anyway, it becomes a better competitor to LG. We ended up with Maytag. My wife is so happy about it. Talk about this is the best. Also, it's also quite expensive, but it's the best. European, right? Anyway, Obama win social debate. We have actually at the time of the debate, we have a real-time system just to demo our technology. You go to our website, you find that the mood swings goes by second to see. And what's more interesting is when they debate, as the debate goes on, we have these tracks. We find that at the time there are two time junctions where the Obama just suddenly got down. One happened at 6:55 p.m. when Obama was asked a question about the economy and the job creation. People were not happy about, right? Because the economy was really not recovering as expected. And then it got down. And then when people talk about China topic, saying that you are too soft to China, and then the public opinion actually also feedback saying that, well, yeah, you didn't do a good job. That's at 7:30. It actually correlates to, it makes sense. So after that, we say, well, our big data is real big data. Our insights are really insightful. They correspond to common sense. But the thing is, when something corresponds to common sense, you say, well, I don't get new information. Why do you need big data? I can even guess this, right? But it really means when something actually is surprising, it's more insightful. It just verifies our approach. Okay, we are running short of time. This is one example of GMO, which was once a big topic in China. And then they say, okay, people say Americans feel safe about GMO. Is that a real picture? Then I did this research and published it in my blog, and suddenly, yeah, this is a concern on the field. The biggest funds there. How can you say Americans feel so safe about the GMO? It's just not a fact. You are misleading the fact. That's a big one. I got, I think, 100 comments just for that one piece of blog. And then this stock market, you asked whether we can do the stock market prediction.
How do I know?
This is only for research, right? Only to give some insight. It might just happen that in that. Anyway, what happens is I have this HTC in my as one of our survey, right? We want to do. And then I use social media of Chinese because HTC is more about that type of consumers. And I do this 1-year trends of our what we call passion index, positive negative index. And then I get this chart. And then I say, well, I'll go just to track their stock market performance in the same period and compare them to see how they correlate. They correlate too closely for me to believe. Of course, if I further do this type of research, you will find that there will be discrepancies in certain cases. I'm lucky in this way. But it verifies to a certain extent this approach really works. Our information actually makes sense because public opinions actually even have a correlating factor to stock market performance. Of course, there are other factors, right? Performance, news, scandals, any other things. But for the public opinions, sometimes correspond to that. Okay, that ends to. We are hurrying. So.
So for those people who are working in data analysis or data science, go to the company and for job offers, we can work in Silicon Valley.
That's my boss said, make sure you put that word at the end, otherwise I won't let you go.
Any questions?
Question: how do you get those data? I mean, how do you get like Facebook data?
No, we have there are providers. There are 3 or 4 providers of social
So
media.
you have a contract they
Yeah,
provide you.
integrate.
Okay.
Very good presentation, but I have a little suggestion that we should recognize that maybe a limitation of use big data is that it may bias the population. That for some part of the population they may use social media more than other parts of the population. So especially for the decision of government, you should consider the social equity. You don't like for some young people they are more active in the social media, but for some like old people or
Definitely. Yes, social listening is just one more dimension of the input.
One last question. Yeah.
First of all, I saw that you have a WeChat messenger. Can you acquire any?
Actually, we don't. talk about the international business saying that, yeah, WeChat is getting hot, Weibo is going down, I want to reach WeChat. I say, I can't get the data or talk to them. They say, no, they are so strict about the privacy of the data. They don't release. However, there will be part of the WeChat, which is, what's that called? 公众号. Yeah, that type of data is public. And then it's just starting. I think several months ago they started that campaign to get the business on. So sooner or later that part will be available for us.
Okay. Second question. Besides Weibo, where did you acquire data from China?
And also from a content provider who actually, I don't know whether they use crawlers or use some other ways to do all these BBS forums or those other things. Yeah.
So you do have a source.
Oh, definitely.
So
We pay them actually. It's a very high cost.
so you pay you.
Yeah.
You provide that service. For
Yeah. We only do intelligence part, right?
Right.
The data part is another.
Yeah, but since you're buying that, we can just hire you to do all the processing,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Thank you.
So I think if you have any questions, we can talk after. Well, this is the end of